In 2018, Mike Flanagan gave us Haunting of Hill House, and it really took us all by storm. He's coming back now with a brand new show called Haunting of Bly Manor, the sequel series to that show, and it's a completely different ghost story this time, and oh my god. You know, I loved Haunting of Hill House, but I might just love Haunting of Bly Manor just a little bit more. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new TV review. Today I'm going to be going over Netflix's brand new show, Haunting of Bly Manor, which after an au pair's tragic death, Henry hires a young American nanny to care for his orphan niece and nephew who reside at Bly Manor with the chef Owen, groundskeeper Jamie, and housekeeper Miss Gross. I have been looking forward to this ever since it was announced. Haunting of Hill House completely took me by storm. Mike Flanagan, for me, I will still contend, is the most underrated, talented horror director in Hollywood right now. The way that he handles horror and the way that he really much dives deep into the characters themselves, most importantly enough, other than just the horror elements. He can scare the bejeebas out of me. But what he's really carefully intact with is the characters at hand. And, you know, we saw that with Hill House. We saw how wonderfully developed each and every one of those characters were. And definitely the attention to detail, the cinematography, the technical achievements he did in there. Bly Manor itself, I think, is just as good as Hill House. I think they're literally some things that Bly Manor does are better than Hill, and other things that Hill does is better than Bly. But overall, they're both like this, both just excellent pieces of horror for us to really engross ourselves with and very much care for these characters. Of course, you guys are new here, though. Make sure again to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss out on content like this over here on a daily basis. I love talking entertainment, and I want to keep talking it all with you guys down below in the comment section. So again, hit that like and subscribe button, as well as comment down below and let me know your guys' thoughts. What's your favorite Mike Flanagan film so far? What were your guys' thoughts on Haunting of Hill House? And how excited are you for Bly Manor? And do understand this is a non-spoiler review for Bly Manor. I'm going to be very vague when it comes to certain details, even though I'm bursting through the seams to talk about much of this show. You got Bly Manor stars the likes of Victoria Pederi, Henry Thomas, Oliver Jackson Cohen, Amelia Eve, Tina Miller, Raul Coy, Benjamin Evan Ainsworth, and Amelia B. Smith, and many, many more. Now, some of these are, of course, you know, we saw them in Haunting of Hill House. Now they're playing different characters, and this time around, we also have a lot bigger cast involved here. And again, that makes for something that's interesting because Haunting of Hill House had a huge cast, and really, for me, they focused in on every single one of those characters, and in particular really dived into the psychology and everything about them and really what worsened them. And Haunting of Hill House definitely was a story, and in a sense, what Mike Flanagan has taught me through all of his horror films is that most ghost stories are a love story, whether it's actually true love and it's a boyfriend and girlfriend or husband and wife, or nonetheless maybe even the love between family members and friends. That is something that Mike Flanagan has been so well and very versed in placing inside here, and we saw that in Haunting of Hill House, and again, it's more or less just bigger inside Bly Manor. Bly Manor, for me, and honestly, getting this right out of the way, I do think that Haunting of Hill House is scarier than Bly Manor, but I think what Bly Manor does so much better is actually pay attention and give more in-depth development to every single one of the characters. There are certain episodes that definitely take major risks when it just focuses directly on a certain character. And there are a couple in here that some people will feel like are completely misplaced or not needed, but I completely disagree. I loved every single one of the episodes in here, and in fact, each and every one of them engrossed me. The first season's 10 episodes, this is 9, and I felt the pacing of this was actually quite unique and really quite perfect. The way that it was perfectly paced through every single episode, and the way that it layered it out and gave you certain details, because this is a giant mystery. There are so many questions that open up within just the first 3 episodes alone, and you'll be sitting there going, well, what's this, and you'll be predicting along the way, and some things may be a little bit too predictable. You'll be able to guess it pretty off the hand right away. Even with that said, as certain details are coming about, you feel like the Sherlock Holmes to this mystery as you are in the shoes of this au pair and trying to figure out what is going on inside this house. That again is just something that's very unique to the template of this show, and again, something that I love how Mike Flanagan is able to really become a creative showrunner when it comes to Bly Manor. All those elements, again, the character development in here was honestly my favorite thing. And just like Haunting of Hill House, the characters were my favorite part about that show. I didn't think it was the scariest thing in the world, even though, again, sometimes it did scare the bejeebas out of me. Manor never truly scared me. It gave me a couple jump scares here and there, or things that unnerved me and gave me a little bit of a goosebumps. What the show does so wonderfully is, again, those character developments. Every single person in here gets something. Not express enough how much I love Victoria Pederi in here. She was fantastic in Haunting of Hill House, and she's excellent in Bly Manor, especially when it comes down to the last couple of episodes, which I must really emphasize enough. The ending of Bly Manor might be one of my favorite endings to any sort of horror thing in the last couple of years. I loved the ending. I love the entirety of the last episode and the way that it was framed, and in a sense, how it's pretty much an epilogue to the rest of the story. It is honestly a true achievement what Flanagan was able to do within that last episode. And in general, the way that it encompasses the rest of the show and how its importance was. Victoria Pederi is just the start of all that. Really diving in, Amelia Smith and Benjamin Ainsworth, who both play the younger kids in here, excellent. Child actors can at times be a little bit nerve-wracking on how great they could be. They both are superb in here. Also giving shout-outs to Amelia Eve, who was amazing as Jamie, and of course Henry Thomas, and Tina Miller and Raul Coley. Each and every one of them, again, have those moments to shine, and each and every one of them are developed in such a fashion that I absolutely loved where their characters went. Tragedy is always around the corner, and Struck in Love always stands together. And again, like I mentioned at the top of this review, Mike Flanagan has taught me that every ghost story, if you look at it from a certain point of view, it's a love story. Haunting of Hill House and Haunting of Bly Manor now are truly those two definitions for what makes such a personal piece coming from Mike Flanagan. Both of these stories very much feel personal, and Bly Manor more or less related so much to me, especially when it comes to certain of the elements. And man, I haven't even talked about the ghostly elements in here yet, which, woo, the ghost in here, oh my god. The mystery surrounding her and everything around this lady in the lake is absolutely, again, it didn't scare me, but it gave me unnerving goosebumps down my spine. It gave me just shivers, and I love the designs and the looks, and really all the ghosts in here have a really weird and cool design to it. And again, the mystery surrounding them all is absolutely one of the coolest aspects of this show. When it comes to Bly Manor, though, the couple cons that I do have, because like I said, as a pro, I do think I like the characters more in here. I like the risks that they took more in this season than they did Haunting of Hill House. And in general, I actually like the story a little bit more inside this one than the first season. But when it comes to cons and maybe the things that were lacking a little bit from the first season, I do think as a technical thing, there's no one-shot take episode just like the first season had, which I was kind of not expecting, but waiting for a moment like that to happen. Again, like I said, there are episodes in here that are quite risky, and honestly, I don't know how everyone will react to them, but that's what's going to be a great conversation down below in the comment section. I can't wait to hear what your guys' thoughts are on certain episodes that happen in here when you guys finally get to see the show. Also, coming into cons, I do think the show can get a little bit repetitive at times, especially with certain of the elements that they're going about in. Now, I absolutely did like certain of the elements, but at times some of those repetitive elements do go about, and again, I have to stay vague. I can't really get into detail of what those repetitive elements were, but for me, I do feel like it comes about in one or too many manners where I'm like, okay, I get what's going on. I don't need to see all the different point of views of this. Hill House was completely unraveling in a different type of way, and Bly Manor, in a sense, was that same unique type. Mike Flanagan does it again, though. Haunting of Bly Manor is an absolutely magnificent delight. Coming off of Hill House, which again I loved, and I was very worried for how Bly Manor could possibly be. I was hoping it would be just as good, or if not better. I think it's just as good, with some lacking departments in there, but the elements that I wanted it to succeed in, it succeeded in. When it comes to horror, I don't care if I get scared. As long as there's a great story, I can absolutely fall in love with it. Once again, a ghost story can be a love story. The performances in here across the board are great, and this is another tale of a haunted house for certain, but also of haunted people. And as Steve Crane said last season, there's no shortage of either. Mike Flanagan once again just destroyed this show. I cannot wait to see what this guy does next. Like, literally hand him whatever he wants when it comes to a horror property, whether it's a brand new idea or an IP that he wants to tackle on. He deserves it. I want this whole cast, every single person in here deserves performances across the board. I loved every single one of them, and seriously, this is a show that when you guys find out all the details going about and unraveling, you're going to be freaking freaking out just as much as I am. I was literally bursting through the seams to talk about the show. And final episode in here, again, the final few moments, that whole encompasses it all, is one of my favorite things in horror in the last couple of years. I just adored it, and I cannot wait to talk with all of you guys, especially that final shot. Like, oh my god, there's so much to unravel in this, guys. And of course, guys, with all that said, I'm gonna give Haunting of Bly Manor an A-. Thank you guys again so much for clicking on this. You guys are seriously all the best. This was, again, a very hard review to dive into because there's so many different things I want to talk about, but I have to stay in non-spoiler form. So, of course, when the show does come out, let's have a great conversation down below in the comment section. If you guys do want a spoiler review, maybe I'll do a spoiler discussion with some other YouTubers over on here. But, of course, guys, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button on your guys' way out. Head on over to Sandwich on Films on how to see films early. And, of course, it's a big thing to you and a big thing to my Patreon supporters, because without you, I wouldn't be able to do this. Of course, guys, until next time, have a happy Hallows Eve, because we're in October finally. Enjoy the show, and of course, stay classy.